Welcome back. All right, so normally it'd be morning all for my first video, but since we just did a live stream that went on for over 2.5 hours, it is indeed welcome back. And so some trades made today, and basically it's a case of, do you have an expiring contract? We will take that from you. So first off, we saw Ville Husso traded to the Detroit Red Wings by the St. Louis Blues. They get back a third-round pick in this year's draft. We'll get into all the draft picks and all of that at a later point. They're just finishing up the 7th round now, and so I'll be able to do draft videos starting later on today about how teams did and all that fun stuff. But Husso signs an extension with Detroit. My guess is the third-round draft pick is because they already had this in place. It is a $4.75 million cap hit for Husso for the next 3 years. So Nedeljkovic and Husso will be the tandem for Detroit. I see this as an upgrade on Greiss, younger than Greiss as well. And so I see this as a win, thus the Detroit jersey. I think Detroit's done well for themselves both through the draft as well as with trades like this. So it's an inexpensive price to pay for a goaltender who could end up being your starter. And for St. Louis, it's a player they were going to lose for nothing, so they get something back rather than losing him for nothing, right? It's that garage sale. I have to get money for this or I'm going to throw it out. So New Jersey then picks up a goaltender themselves, Vitek Vanecek, as well as a 2022 second. Going the other way, a 2022 second to the Washington Capitals, as well as the third-round pick. So for Vanecek, he's a restricted free agent. His record this year was 20-12-6 with a .908 save percentage. For comparison, Husso was 25-7-6 with a .919 save percentage. So when you look at this, the fact that Vanecek is a restricted free agent, he won't be that expensive for New Jersey. I would expect him to be a 1A, 1B starter for New Jersey this coming season, along with Blackwood. What's interesting to me is this means that Washington has made the decision, and it looked like they had during the playoffs as well, that Samsonov was going to be the guy. With this move, this shows that Samsonov is going to be the guy, and or that Washington has something else that they plan to do during free agency. So for Vanecek, he moves on to New Jersey. After a long, distinguished career with Seattle, he was traded to Washington, and now he's a member of the New Jersey Devils. And I like this one for New Jersey, but I'm fine with Washington's side of it as well. Again, restricted free agent. Either they weren't interested in keeping him and going with the same tandem, or they couldn't come to an agreement. But either way, he's now with New Jersey. I would look for a deal to be announced between himself and the Devils soon, because we saw Tony DeAngelo get traded as well. Tony DeAngelo is now a member of the Philadelphia Flyers, which means Tony DeAngelo on the ice, John Tortorella behind the bench, and fireworks. So at the very least, you're going to get a very entertaining season for Philly. 64 games played, 10 goals, 41 assists, 51 points for DeAngelo. He had a great year in Carolina. Now he's going to Philly. Can he recreate that in Philly? Can he not? We're going to see what happens. Also a 2022 7th-round pick going to the Philadelphia Flyers in exchange for a 2024 second, a 2023 third, and a 2022 fourth going to Carolina. It is rumored, and I checked, it's still rumored, but Elliot Friedman reporting that it's a 2-year deal that's coming in for DeAngelo at approximately $5 million per season. So apparently there's a deal that's been worked out between himself and Philadelphia. The question that would now get asked is, why would a $5 million a year deal on a 2-year span be considered too rich for the taste of the Carolina Hurricanes? And what else does Carolina do now that DeAngelo has been traded? Do they look to fill that role from within, or do they look to pick somebody else up? So it's going to be interesting to watch them in free agency. Another interesting move today is Duncan Keith has retired. So Edmonton was asking him to make up his mind. You got the feeling Edmonton was kind of along the lines of, if you wanted to retire, we totally understand. So Duncan Keith, 1,256 games played in his career, 106 goals, 540 assists, 646 points. Excellent career for Duncan Keith. I will be doing a career video on Duncan Keith as well. That question was asked during the live stream. Of course, we'll be doing a career video on Duncan Keith. And we can get into that debate of, wouldn't it have been better if he just stayed a Blackhawk throughout his career? And of course, in that career video, I'll get into the cap penalty that Chicago is going to be dealing with now that he has, in fact, retired rather than deciding to come back and play. And it's interesting because then the question becomes, did Edmonton get what they wanted out of Keith in that year that he was there? Did it make that difference on the blue line? Is it part of the reason they end up being a Final Four team? And, is this going to benefit the team going forward, having had him around the guys for a year? Or was it a wasted experiment? So we can have that debate as well as we get into, especially as we get into this coming season, right? Because, and I say that because as a Canucks fan, I remember Matt Sundin, it looked kind of weird with him being in Vancouver, but it benefited the team going forward. He taught the guys a lot. We'll see whether or not Keith was able to impart some things to some defenders for the Edmonton Oilers that helps them out. Now, another trade of a restricted free agent, as it's here's our issue. We can't sign this guy. We need to trade him. Luke Cunnin, restricted free agent, traded to the San Jose Sharks in exchange for John Leonard, who is also a restricted free agent this summer, and a 2023 third-round pick. I think Nashville did well to get value back. Cunnin, rough year for him. He played every game, but he had 13 goals, 9 assists for 22 points. And he was a number 15 pick in 2016 by Minnesota. Ends up in Nashville. Now he's in San Jose. Leonard, 14 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points for Leonard. I like Leonard. I don't know that there's offensive upside there, but again, with Cunnin having that 13-goal season, not a great year by his standards, so this might just be two guys who need a change of scenery. There, of course, are a lot of eyeballs looking at Nashville to see, so have they signed Forsberg yet? How about now? When's Forsberg getting signed? Has he signed now? So we'll see whether or not that gets answered in the affirmative very quickly here, I would think, for Nashville, because we're only a few short days away from free agency. The craziness continues. Also in the signing realm of things, Luostarinen, as a restricted free agent, re-signs with Florida, and he'll still be a restricted free agent when this deal expires. 2 years, $1.5 million per season for Luostarinen. So he had a good year, I thought, for Florida. Florida keeping him around. And, of course, Florida has some decisions to make this summer, too. So I think this draft was very successful in shaking things up nicely. And, again, if you have a restricted free agent you're looking to move on from, apparently there's a good market for that. And it makes sense. So the one thing about trading a restricted free agent is that the team still maintains rights to negotiate and match any deal that he would sign. Unrestricted free agents less so. So the only UFA that moves is Husso, because there's a deal in place between him and the Detroit Red Wings to make it work. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, I don't do winners and losers. I've been wearing jerseys of teams that I think did well. So for the live stream, I wore Arizona. I've worn Montreal. I'm wearing Detroit now because I think they did well too. And so there's that whole debate about who did well and who needed to, make improvements that we may not have seen. And so, yeah, I'll be going through team by team and doing little write-ups on each team. And I'm debating about whether or not to do it by division. I'm leaning towards looking at each division and the teams in the division, who they drafted, and where and what their standing was and all this. But yeah, so look forward to that. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. This is that time of year where the channel experiences explosive growth. It grows quickly during free agency as well as during the draft. And so we're seeing that again. Thank you guys so much for sharing, commenting, watching, and for tuning into the live streams. Today's live stream was a lot of fun. Obviously a much smaller group than last night. And honestly, those are fun live streams too. So I appreciate that kind of personal connection with the subscribers. And I'm glad that we still have that, even though the channel's much larger than it was 5 years ago when we were doing live streams of the same nature. And so in my eyes, it's still the same experience that it would have been 5 years ago, just a lot more people. So thank you guys. Thank you to a lot more people that have been tuning in, and hope you continue to do so. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. And again, like and subscribe buttons are your friends. And I will talk to you guys very, very soon in all likelihood.